Don't worry, it's muted.
Got too many different papers.
Trying, I put everything in the binder. It's not. Just get what you want. You got it.
Tim, would you lead with a word? Well, let's call the meeting to order. Yeah, and then Tim, will you start with a?
Okay. Oh Lord, may we come in this evening hour as we gather here together. Bless us as one another. Give us wisdom, give us courage, give us love one for another. But above all, may we look up unto thee. Forgive of every sin, this we ask. In Jesus' name, amen.
Review and approval of last, well, 2 months ago minutes is, do we have minutes from last month?
Well, not last month, but
Not
last.
2 months ago, yeah.
September.
Can I have a motion to approve as printed?
There was some-
I make a
Identical.
motion to approve with amendments.
All right, is there any alterations to the minutes, Rivka?
Yes, I sent them out yesterday via email.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, there
I
was
don't know if you
reply
did.
to all, so,
Had a little
every-
red addendum.
yep,
Yes.
yep, I said anything
Geez, you make me
substantive.
feel
There
great.
wasn't really a big
Anything
change, just you
substantive I
added.
made in red. I did make some other minor typo changes that I just couldn't make myself go past. But I didn't highlight those because they're not substantive to the topic.
I'm so
Um,
sorry. that I did not.
Well, will
And-
you lead us through what you
Yes,
did
give
not
me
approve of?
1 minute and I will
I'm
pull
gonna
it
send
up.
I'm trying to find it so I can give it to Donna. when we
I'm
go
getting
back.
it. I'll send it to him.
There were a couple points where I wanted to clarify, there were a couple questions that were represented as an entire board discussion. That was a specific person asking a
Yep.
question that I made changes on. And then there were a couple of things, like it said, vice president of MACD Region 7 and its vice chair. There was another thing that referred to Megan's title that was written incorrectly. I'm trying to find it. I think it might be in my other.
I got it.
Okay.
Too many emails.
It was one of the later ones.
Board pack.
All right, so I'll open this up and then if, once we vote on it, I can print them out.
Yeah.
I was okay with everything.
Doug, you, Kelly? Were
Yeah.
you?
Yeah,
She
right.
wasn't at that meeting, so I don't think, like she,
She was-
yeah.
Right,
I don't have it.
well, without seeing them to vote on them, that's why I'm just trying
Yeah,
to get
they're-
everybody's.
Yeah, like I said,
Is
Megan
everybody
was
okay with
on
it? So we can move
the
forward.
planning meeting, and it's actually that Megan was on the planning committee.
There was quite a few.
Some changes on the discussion about the interest rate on the funds, just minor clarification things.
So quick question then, on this month's minutes, do I have to write in a motion to edit the minutes?
So the
Does anyone-
motion that I made is I made a motion to accept the minutes with amendments.
Except, okay.
That was one of the other changes, was there was the motion motion to accept the public presentations. I added with amendments because we made changes to those during the meeting.
And we already screwed up with Robert's
Um,
rules of order. Is there a support to Rivka's motion? I'm sorry.
I'll make a support.
All right. Now is there any discussion? Any more discussion?
Yeah, I think those are all of the.
Okay,
things I
so-
marked.
We'll vote and secretary can get the minute taker will get the changes in time, in due time. So all those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Accepted.
All right, and I will get these printed off here in a minute. So there's that.
Public comment. Is there any public who would like to speak? Alrighty, jumping into staff reports. Who do we have? We have one highlighted.
Yeah, so today, NEEP is not presenting. We had a miscommunication on dates, but I do want to introduce our new district administrator, or district conservationist for NRCS, Sarcy Ray. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Sarcy will be, she is taking Heather Barbancourt's previous role, and she's been a great addition, and so I'm gonna let her say hello, introduce herself, and I do have a board report for her to pass around.
Great, yeah. Hi, everyone. I've met a couple of you so far, but looking forward to meeting the rest of you and working with you. Let's see, I've been here 2 months. This is the first meeting I think that has happened since I got here, so my report's a little long. But just kind of wanted to give you a little overview of what's been going on in the NRCS world. Sounds like it's been a while since there was somebody active at the meeting, so I'm looking forward to attending the meetings monthly and getting to know you all, but I have been with NRCS for 11 years. I went to Grand Valley, so I'm a little familiar with Ottawa County. And then went up north for a while. I was a soil con in Cadillac. Worked with a lot of dairy farms up there, forestry programs. And then I was a DC up in the Gaylord area for about 5 years. And then I went out to Colorado for a while. Got some experience in Boulder area, which was very interesting. They own all the farmland out there, so it was interesting dynamics. And yeah, I am back. And yeah, kind of hit the ground running, getting to know all of you all and what contracts we have here and some of the issues, water quality issues and things like that. So, yeah, I guess I'd rather just take any questions if you have any, then keep talking.
well, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I've, in my time since March, we haven't had someone from NRCS here, so that's great that you're gonna be coming more often, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Any questions for Sharcy? I'm sorry, Sharcy.
Yes,
Yes. I'll only get that wrong a couple times. so
that's
hold it
okay.
against
I'll
me.
give you lots of passes. I'm used to it.
Perfect. Anybody got any questions on any of the other reports from the staff? Perfect. Old business. I
Before we
mean,
start,
Oop.
Kelly, do you want to add some items to the agenda?
I wanted to get in a little bit more deeply into the issues in Crockery Creek. And I can go over it then, but I've just had a new information has come in, and so I think it's all hands on deck. And I want to kind of get your guys' opinion on that. Also, maybe at the end of the,
Sorry, is that on the agenda?
it is
No,
not
we're-
on the agenda.
we're talking about, well, yeah, I mean, Crockery Creek is kind of there, or Sand Creek, but yeah, we could probably add it under there, and then I did want to add a section at maybe perhaps at the end, or maybe we can talk about it later, but I did want to talk about the issue with the libraries. I think it's important that we do that.
Where are we gonna put the,
So I think let's put the library issue with old business, so we can talk about that first. And
Or we
then,
could talk about it last,
and then we.
maybe.
Maybe. And then with the Concrete Creek one, we can have that anywhere in new business. There's some grants that we're working on, but they're not gonna be specific to what Callie would like, so we could add that somewhere in new business.
Okay, so trying to follow the motion rules,
Yeah.
I will make a motion to add discussion of Crockery Creek to the grant discussion and to add discussion of the library presentation to the board updates at the end. That's my motion.
is there support?
Support.
I think
Where,
we-
sorry, where should I put this motion though? Should this be under old business?
Let's,
In terms of literally where it's listed in the minutes?
Before we decide where we're gonna put it, I know that Roger had some information, and so did Doug, that they wanted to present from the county specifically with the library stuff. And I know that they're on a different time frame than us, so I think that old business might be better to have it done earlier, so they can go on with their night and not have to sit through it.
Okay,
so do you want it, I guess, first thing, right, in old business?
Might as well just
So
do
coming
it.
up next.
okay, so that was, I mean, the motion Kelly supported, the discussion was Megan requesting to move it to the
Just
beginning.
earlier, so we can.
You as the
Um,
motion maker can amend your motion.
So the
Okay,
original.
so I will then amend my motion to include Crockery Creek during the grant proposal and to discuss the library presentations during old business.
Do they both need to be, does Crocker need to be up front?
No.
Okay, all right. We good, Ben?
Motion
then-
to discuss Crockery Creek during the,
During the grant, under the
section.
grant section.
And then does Callie need to re-support it since it's amended, or someone else re-support it?
Um,
Sure, all the above.
let's do it, just in case, you know, that, well, yes. Kelly, are you still good with that, or should we have someone?
I think that's fine.
All right, so it's been moved and second, we discussed it.
Quick point of order, I think usually we want to put approving the agenda on here, right, for future.
Ooh, that
reference.
hasn't been, that's right.
Yeah, I just realized that just now.
That's why I glanced over it, yeah.
so another
Point of
quick
order.
question, sorry, do I need to write the original motion in there? Or the amended motion in
The amended,
there? Okay.
because that's basically what we're working off of.
Okay, great.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Fire away, I guess who gets the floor first, Kelly or County?
I'll let Callie talk. She has things. she
Well, I
needs.
think I'm interested to know what the county has to say first. If you don't mind.
Well, what
You
I've
ready, Roger?
heard is that there's some concern regarding from Paul Sachs, I believe. There was some concern that some of the things that had been presented at, or was going to be presented at the libraries, was information regarding the water quality of the county. I believe that was one item, and
I don't understand.
you don't understand?
No,
I think you made I think those were slides that you had made, is that correct? That's what Paul was mentioning, that you had some slides that you were presenting, that you were going to
on the
present.
groundwater situation.
Mhm.
I mean, those information came out of the whatever that was, that phase 2 groundwater presentation that was available online.
Mhm. It's old information from, I think, from 2017 or 2018, something like that.
Okay,
And I think that was something that you were going to present, is that correct?
I was.
All right. Right. And apparently it's not going to be presented now, correct?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yes, you're correct.
Right, I think that was the issue, and
Well, maybe Paul Sachs needs to send me updated information.
Well, but I don't think you can represent the county on an item like that. I think that's, you know, that's my understanding is that that's what was happening. There was a, this where you were representing the county.
No.
Okay.
Not even close.
Again, this information that.
Doug, do you have anything to add?
Because
No, the only thing that I would add to the discussion is every citizen has a right to present information in a public setting. And I hope we're not going to add to the confusion later on in the agenda by, expanding the county's contract with the Soil Conservation District. But at the risk of that, it's confusing to the members of the public. They see road commission, they think that's a county department. Roger probably gets calls all the time. Hey, my street hasn't been plowed. Can you get the truck guys out there?
Right.
And the same with the Ottawa County Soil Conservation District. It's completely separate from the county. The county is given funding and maybe offering my services or HR. I'm not going to be at the county much longer, given all this silver hair here, but in the future, I can say that I think it's important that a soil conservation district remain independent of the county, but also be able to tap into the county from time to time for resources. I represented Kent County when I was engaged to represent the district. I don't know if anyone was here when they ended up with a loan from Fifth Third for $50,000. Fifth Third thought they were dealing with the county. And the Soil Conservation District, you can't borrow money for operations. So the whole district went dormant for a couple of years after that fiasco. So I think it's helpful to get, some legal services in here. But as long as Callie makes it clear that she's not there as an Ottawa County representative, and if she's presenting data, it's clear that even if it has an Ottawa County logo on it or something, she indicates that it's, publicly, it's been obtained publicly, and you're not a representative of the county. So no one thinks that what you say is necessarily a county position, then I think you should be fine.
That's good. to
Does
know.
that make sense? I mean,
That's helpful to
no
know.
one wants to be confused as to, who's who and what's what. You're
Mhm.
legally separate. And I think, Matt and I have talked about this, I think, you want to continue that way.
Mhm.
So
Let
as
let
long
me
as it's
shed a
clear.
little light on this, because I'm involved in this, and part of Callie's question is the fiasco that went on at the libraries. I did call both libraries. She had a date to present said information. Whatever it was by both the libraries told me that they were under the impression that she was coming there to represent Ottawa County Conservation District. And that's when I intervened and said, no, I can't tell you what you want to do or can do at your library, but she is not coming as a representative of the Conservation District. End of story. That's, not,
You
you
also
know,
told
we-
them I was
on.
unqualified.
Well, let me just.
So-
hang on.
Sure.
And I had assured both of the libraries that I could send a person from our staff, which has went out with her before. There was people on staff that could do that sort of thing. And then, but so I never said anything about the qualifications of, it was just, she does not represent Ottawa County Conservation District. I talked to the directors of both libraries. I talked to the chairman. Well, there's no chairman at Georgetown, but there is a library board at Coopersville. And they decided in their own inner, that they weren't they decided both to cancel the programs. Coopersville has went ahead and they're gonna have their program. I mean, Coopersville still, it's on the agenda for the 14th of November. Coopersville is having. Ottawa County is gonna be there to give said presentation. I don't know how they got in contact with Ottawa County. You know, I give them the information, you know, that they could contact this office. And then this from Paul Sachs came to light since then. So, but
I can shed a little
Cooper's-
bit of the light on that.
Coopersville Library on their own, you know, found Ottawa County and Paul Sachs Department on the water issue. So it is moving forward in Coopersville's. You know, I haven't had any conversation with Georgetown in a week or two, so I don't know if they rescheduled. So, but that's Callie. I know you have been, I hear all kinds of accusations that you thought I did all these things, but I'm here to tell you in
I
front of God.
received an email from the executive director of the Coopersville Library. She told me what was said. One of those things was that you told them I was not qualified.
I told them that
Now,
you
I
were
was
not
trying to get the
Authorized.
staff,
authorized,
I was,
authorized.
well, I was trying to get the staff to come with me because I knew it was best. I knew this is where the organization needed to go. You didn't need to do that. You could have let them go without a hitch and the issue would have been over and would have been at rest. But
We
instead, you
made a
decided
motion
to
in the meeting
intervene.
that we weren't gonna send
Well,
people with you.
Well, I
on a-
asked you to table that motion and you didn't.
So for clarification, we didn't actually address any already scheduled things in that meeting. It definitely was my understanding from that meeting and in general, that things that are already scheduled or planned go forward and move forward. And I guess that was our lack of foresight to not specifically, like on all of us who were here, to not specifically address meetings were already scheduled. I made an assumption the meetings that were already scheduled would move forward.
So if you see a bus coming and a kid is about to step out in front of the road, you just let the kid step out in front of the road because there's not a rule there yet. that
No,
he
no, no,
should
no,
step out in front of the
but
bus?
that's
I
what
would
I'm
have done
saying
just
is that, is that because it was not addressed and we all knew that it had already been scheduled, we had already
George,
discussed it. as a
okay,
board.
Georgetown's was on the books, Coopersville's was not. It was in the planning department yet. And it was not put on the calendar yet for Coopersville's. Georgetown was 4 days from having theirs and they had one RSVP for the event.
Well,
So
that,
Georgetown took it upon themselves to cancel in regards to.
Okay,
we've
I
only
know
got
that.
Can I
one
talk
person.
about this?
that
Because
they
this
didn't
is,
have
this
one
is directly
RSVP.
my thing. Okay, part of the reason why I was so ticked off is that my daughter was in the hospital and I don't even know when you called them. Okay, you are impacting my personal life. You should have, just because they passed a motion on the education policy doesn't give you the right to go out and undermine what I'm working on, especially
It
when I
does-
tried to
It
involve the
does if
staff.
it goes against the motion and the policy that we have. in place.
Nobody, you don't get to decide extra things in a motion because you want to stop me from doing a presentation.
I didn't stop-
Maybe if I could just interject here. I don't want to stop. discussion,
No,
but-
excuse me,
no,
there
let's
have
see
been a
what he has
lot
to
of things
say.
that have happened and I'm it was such a horrible thing to do to me at the wrong absolute possible time. And people keep doing things to me that are making me upset. It continues. So don't be shocked when I get mad. Because that's why I feel like you did that deliberately to piss me off. That was right the day we're supposed to go to the Farm Bureau thing. We're supposed to be arm in arm singing Kumbaya, and that's what you do. I find out that day, I get an email from the Coopersville Library that you told them I wasn't qualified to give the presentation. You have given me no way to frame things accurately. I've asked for training. I've asked for input. Okay, I've provided the information to you. Did you even look at my PowerPoint or my report that I wrote? Okay, Megan has, because I worked with her on creating it. Okay,
There was a lot of inflammatory language in it.
Maybe.
what?
Maybe I
The
could just
wicked water
interject.
problem.
The what?
If I could just.
Is there
interject a
something
minute.
specific? Because nobody responded to my email.
Okay.
You know, I think, and I'm new to this situation. I just have 42 2 years of working with boards and public settings. Here's my suggestion. There's nothing wrong as long with making a presentation, as long as it's very clear up front. You can do this in part with a disclaimer. Lawyers are good at disclaimers.
have one.
Let me finish for a minute.
Ugh.
Yeah, Kelly, just a minute. And so you can have a disclaimer that you're not there on behalf of the Soil Conservation District per se. You're a board member, but that doesn't mean you speak for the district. You're not there for Ottawa County, but you're a concerned citizen, and here's some information that I want to present to you. So it seems to me that things got sideways in the past, and it's not going to do anyone any good to try to revisit the past. I think what we need to do is go forward. And as long as the people who are hosting it understand that you're not there, Kelly, as the Soil Conservation District, you're not there as Ottawa County, but you're there as an interested, concerned citizen who has researched some subjects and has some information that might be of interest to the community. And as long as the people there understand that this may not be the official position of the district, or it might not be the official position of the county, then I think everything's fine. And so it seems like maybe qualification or authorization, words can easily, those are very different words. And if you heard qualification when it meant authorization, and maybe the person who heard Matt said authorization and she converted it into qualification, and then you get off on an understandably on a tangent. So I think as we go forward, we can clarify some things, and you can go forward and do what you want to do, Callie. And I applaud your enthusiasm and your interest in these subjects. And as long as the people receiving the message and the institutions hosting it understand, a complete picture of where you are and what you're doing at that meeting, then I think things are fine.
In terms of information that is incorrect, I've asked for information, updates. You need to tell me that something is incorrect. I am not going to psychically know that.
I have told you.
Which information?
I had told you in the very first presentation a year ago when you sent it to me, the inflammatory language. I highlighted them. I told you it wasn't appropriate. It was
What
still-
inflammatory
Well,
language?
the one I remember that I saw on one of the presentations was the wicked water problem. We don't use language like that.
Okay, wicked problems is a reference from, it's a public administration reference. It's from my public administration
That's
studies.
fine, but it didn't look like you were
Okay, what-
representing you. It looked like you were representing the district and
Okay,
or the county, which is what
These
Paul
are
came to me on.
small nuances,
But
and
that's
you
what
can
the
make a
community
suggestion,
sees, and so the community
and that I may
sees-
not actually change it.
Okay.
Okay.
I understand that, and that's fine, as long as the community sees that you are not representing the district or the county. I got reprimanded by Paul for you going out and making it look like,
Paul's not your boss.
no, he's not my boss, but he did
What
sit me
relationship's
down
not
and he
doing
did
that?
say, Megan, the district cannot go out and educate the public on the groundwater issue without accurate information.
Okay, well,
and-
he can feel free to send some along.
But that's not the point. The point is that it's not his job to send you accurate information. It's your job to find it and your job to make sure it's very, very clear you weren't representing the district or the county. You can represent yourself. If your watershed assembly wants you to go out and do the presentations, represent them.
Yeah, well, my
But you
Crockery
can't-
watershed is dead in the water.
Well, you
because I don't
can't
get
go,
support.
that's not what we're talking about. You cannot go out and represent the district or the county.
I
without-
didn't. I told her I was
But
a
that's
board
what it
member
looked
of
like,
the
and that's what Matt
conservation
called you on.
district.
That's what Matt called the libraries on to find out.
Both the
how
library
these were
boards had you
represented.
down as an
Well,
Ottawa
and-
County Conservation presentation that was gonna happen.
If I can
Hang
interject.
on,
real
Rutka,
quick.
because
I mean, I'm an
I-
elected
I-
official. I have a right to go out and represent the organization that
I was
I'm
gonna let you go.
elected to.
I had an idea of what your presentation might have or might not have been. I had a personal idea what it was, and I'll keep that to myself because that's where it should stay. I got a call. I mean, I was gonna let you go out and I'm sorry, hang yourself. I mean, go out and go be a public speaker and try to do what you want to do. You know, spread your wings and fly. I don't care. You know, I thought you would embarrass yourself more going and doing that, but I got a call from a person who had sat at your presentation at Chester Township and said, what kind of presentator do you have? You know, you've got, her words to me was openly agitated when they directed their questions back to, I believe,
Sarah.
Sarah went with you and she helped you do a presentation. I don't tag team, whatever you did. You know, this particular lady said, wow, thought, and she thought it was 100% from the Ottawa County Conservation District, because that's, one, we had an employee there and the other one who was on the board. And it was, she chuckled because she said the open agitation that the woman had when they would ask her a question and not you. She said it was actually kind of funny, and they all chuckled when you left. And, so I said, you know what?
I don't think
No.
I know anything about that.
I don't say you
don't-
did know anything
I
about that,
don't
but that's what put me into action.
Okay.
So I called the libraries and said, we
Okay.
can't have,
Look,
Turn the
I
volume down.
Yeah, but-
can't, you can't like take action and like call the county and have the county put into motion trying to censure me or whatever was going on.
censure. I'm
yes,
sorry, what does that mean?
The censure,
Yeah.
okay, I received word that the county was acting on censuring me. I don't know if that's
What
true.
does century mean?
Okay, shush. I want to talk. Okay,
Rivka, that's what we're back to.
Right, but there's inflammatory language being used on both sides.
I'm sorry. One, I didn't get the pink shirt or whatever, and now the
I don't know what
inflammatory
woman
language.
you're
Tell me
talking
what
about, but
inflammatory
I,
language is
if
then.
you don't
Let-
come
let
to
me-
me and tell me that someone said something, I don't know what that person's talking about. That is one person's interpretation. I have absolutely nothing
So-
against Sarah.
So let me just say this.
It's
that I-
ridiculous.
I think this kind of back and forth,
It's not helpful.
it is not helpful, and it's not helpful in a board meeting, okay? Because your board meetings are pretty formal. We got into whether a motion needs to be in the minutes before it's amended or after, so we've got a formal setting here, and it's not the right forum to air these kinds of things. Honestly, I think if you go forward and we amend the county contract and I can provide some legal services. I'm not your attorney at this point. I won't be your attorney then, but I will be able to provide services for you. And one of the things I might be able to do, Callie, is give you something that you can hand out to the libraries or whatever organization that simply says, you want to make a presentation, you are a member of the Soil Conservation District Board. You do not speak for the district. You do not speak for Ottawa County, but you've accumulated this information. And as an interested person that has a role in this organization, you may have something useful to say to those people. That's fine. And I think we can make sure that we've done everything we can institutionally to ensure that the public isn't confused about roles. Because, sometimes like with this water data, that's very sensitive. The county isn't even releasing that data.
What water data?
Well, the data on the Marshall Aquifer, and there's a time and place for the accumulation of data and then the release of data to the public.
But it's
'Cause some-
already out.
Right.
I don't.
that- It's not, there's constantly new data coming in regarding how acidic the water is, all that, there's new information that's coming in every month. And so sometimes information is stale, sometimes it's incomplete, sometimes it's not ready for release yet. So there's a host of reasons. I'm not suggesting that you can't use public information, but you may want to just say in your presentation, this was gathered or released 2 years ago. My understanding is that the problem has not gone away, but there is, additional research being done. But from what we know 2 years ago, this is the situation. And that's all that this takes. We're really, I think, trying to solve a problem in a forum that's not amenable to solving it this way. I think it can be solved. I don't think that these are insurmountable problems. So I'm heartened to hear that you're not going to represent water data that's gotten Paul upset. I'm welcome to, I will talk to Paul and say, well, okay, but as long as maybe we can give you some more current data, I don't know, maybe it's not ready to be released. I don't know, Kelly. But what I'm suggesting is there's ways for you to do what you want to do. Because I don't think I hear you saying that you want to mislead anyone
Of
about,
course not,
okay, so then,
but if they're
Can I
not
say
giving,
something
they're not
really
giving
quick,
me the
Kelly?
information
You-
that I need. There's like
Kelly,
filing all
can
these
I say
things
something
away and
really
not
quick?
speaking with me about
Do
it.
it on your own. You don't need us. Do
Yeah,
it on your own. You wanted to
you-
do this on your own. You're not representing the district. Don't use our logos. Don't use their logos. You do this on your own. If you're
Okay,
gonna represent the district and you're coming to me for help to put your PowerPoint together, then that's different.
Well, and I think part of the confusion has come in that Callie is trying to abide by what you guys want, which then further makes confusion back and forth. So I think that this is really helpful. Removing logos is a really easy thing to do. I have been to one of Callie's presentations. She does have a very clear disclaimer that I am here as myself. I am not here on behalf of the Conservation District. That is published on her very first slide. It's on her materials. And the presentation that I went to, obviously I haven't been to every presentation she's done. She was very clear about that right at the beginning and how she represented it. I think what I'm hearing from you, Megan, is that muddies the waters, and that's what I hope the educational policy puts in place. If it is something that Callie is doing on her own, what I'm hearing is she's free to do that as an independent citizen. If she wants to support, then that comes under the educational policy, which is great. We have a process for now at this point in time. The other thing I will say is I am surprised that both of the libraries represented to you that they felt it was a conservation district, because I follow their Facebook pages, I get all of their marketing, and that wasn't really represented that way from their own marketing. So I think some of it is a game of telephone, which, as Pam said earlier today, one of the best things we can do is hold one another accountable. So I know, Matt, you've said many times how important it is for us to go to each other. And I think that's another point of frustration, is that, it would have been great for you to maybe give Callie a heads up that you were having those conversations rather than hearing about it third hand. I know how I would feel if I heard about it third hand that something was being said. So I think some of that direct communication would be helpful.
My direct communication was her at the meeting saying, you can't go out and do that. I don't have to call her and tell her that I am working in the best interest of,
You
I feel
don't
that
get
the
to tell me.
Conservation District.
I have the right to
Kelly, did I
go do.
overtalk you?
You
let him-
just
Please,
feel
did I
like-
overtalk you?
No, but
Thank you then,
You-
Kelly.
I have a-
Now I am.
fundamental misunderstanding of what you're able to tell
Kelly,
me.
just let him talk.
What
as a
next you
chair.
got? What, you guys got anything more?
I have one more thing to add.
All right, fire away.
When I want to talk with the staff and ask them questions and get expertise from them, because I am not an expert, I want to have access to them so that I don't go out and make a mistake. Okay?
Well, in that case, then it's falling under utilizing conservation district resources, in which case it has to follow the education policy and be voted on. But if you're doing it on your own, then you're absolutely able to do it on your own. But if you need staff resources, that's where you need board approval, is my understanding. Is
That's
that
the way I understand
correct?
it.
that sounds
Understanding?
logical. It really does.
I mean, I think I should be able to shoot them an email and ask them for clarification on things and not have to worry about whether or not the board has to vote on it. I mean, I
That's
don't
what our
think that's
policy
how it,
says. So that's what we were all
that's
going
how
on.
it works
So-
with other elected officials, like the county commissioners. I don't think they get county approval or move approval from the board in order to go out and make a presentation about the things that they're working on. as
I don't think they're
county
really
board
going out
members.
and making. presentations,
Honestly,
so-
honestly, Kelly, this is not an unusual problem, okay? And there are efforts, and I think Roger can attest to this.
We've had some.
Yeah, so even the board chair in the county is sensitive that they work through the administrator
Yeah.
before they're.
That's not how it's done in Kent County.
Yeah, well,
Oh, we're
it
here.
may, I suspect it will
All right,
end up being that way because they got our administrator, but
Excuse me, Doug.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Kelly?
I mean,
You said you had one more
I-
thing. Is
the
that
thing
the one
about the
thing?
access to the staff, it really upsets me. Because as an elected official, I should be able to speak with the staff about finding the facts and figures that I need to go out and give accurate information and to serve my constituents. And I've been inhibited from doing that, and there's a lake that I want to save. And I'm all wrapped up in stupid arguments over whether or not I should be able to go out in public. If somebody needs to talk to me about something, they need to come to me and not go do something with information I'm not even privy to. Like some lady didn't like what I said. Okay, there's one lady that didn't like what I said. There's a lot of people out there that they don't like anything I'm doing. You can't take that and
All right,
put
is that
things
it?
in motion.
That's your good, we good for now?
For now.
Can I make one short point?
If it don't have anything to
Not-
do with this.
Well, it doesn't, not to beat a dead horse, but this is part of why a marketing committee would be great.
All right. Duly noted.
You are the marketing committee.
And not
MACD,
officially.
You know, I've brought up many
MACD.
times
Okay.
about. marketing
MACD.
All
committee.
right, MACD update. So, I've been working with Gary, who is the treasurer currently, and also is elected as the new treasurer for Region 7 for, MACD. To put together a survey that we can send to Region 7, executive directors and board of directors, to be able to kind of get consensus about what we want to bring to the MACD conference. So if anyone has thoughts about questions that should be on that survey, I would love to hear it. What should we be asking the other Region 7 directors? What should we be asking the other Region 7 executive directors so that we can, as a region, come to the MACD conference with some information about what our most pressing issues are and advocate for ourselves as a region. So that's my
anybody's got
update.
any ideas? Give Rivka a shout.
I'd also like to give Jack an opportunity to give us any updates that you need to pass along through MACD. Or for
Nothing
MDARD?
nothing from MACD, MDARD, there's nothing new that's not in the report I submitted.
The other piece that I wanted to add is that I now have several staff registered as well as Rivka registered for the conference. So I just wanted to let you know that that is around the corner.
I could chime in with one unrequested item. What Rivka is doing is pretty amazing with respect to her role in Region 7 MACD. And the questions that she's soliciting actually are useful in the broader scheme of things because MACD lives and dies by the regions that support the broader organization. And with Rivka on board, you know, haven't seen this, you know, over the years, when you get somebody enthusiastic like Rivka engaged, good things happen, so.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
Well, what I'm saying is. if
And
you've
all
got-
your punctuation would be perfect.
If you've got something you want to address, pass it on to Rivka, and it'll happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rivka. Native plant sale.
Yeah, so I wanted to give you guys our final profit and loss on the native plant sales.
Did we actually sell out?
We
Wait a
did,
minute.
so I'll just read it off. So we.
Isn't it in this packet? No.
I was gonna hand them out, so I didn't confuse you, hold on. I'm just confusing myself. So as you know, we changed the way we did things a little bit with this fundraiser. In the spring, we offered the opportunity for landowners to purchase their plants on an individual basis. So everything was pre-ordered. It created a lot of logistics nightmares and ended up spending quite a bit more of our time and our resources to implement that sale. The second sale, in the fall, we changed it to be, you could have some pre-orders on flats or garden kits, but not on individual plants. It was all browse and shop and browse. And the amount of resources we had to spend on this type of sale was cut in half. So this year, on both of our plant sales, we were able to bring in a revenue of $6,300. So I felt really positive about that. And I think that doing those browsing sales as we go forward with a little less resources on the staff to put into it, we'll probably see this number grow. So it was a real success. Thank you, Rivka, for helping.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just kind of want
Thank you.
to.
New business, human resources.
Yeah, so I wanted to give you all an update on Lexi. Lexi began her leave last week, and she also had her baby on Sunday.
Oh, wow.
So she has a little boy. Warren is his name, and he's super healthy, and they're both doing great. I have divvied Lexi's main roles up throughout the staff. So I have different staff members doing different things. So Karen Dawson will be taking care of our Facebook page. Alex Savoda will be creating and writing our conservation update. Morgan Anderson will be doing our newsletters. Sarah Bowman will be assisting with our Raindrop Rescue Program and putting together those grants that we've begun. Ben Jordan is taking over the minutes. Kyle Hildebrand is assisting with some raindrop rescue work with the Allendale Public Schools. So and then Rivka is assisting with the website. So I've divvied that up to try to make it all flow. Anything else that comes up, we will deal with as it comes. I've also created committees for internal committees, and that's something that's on our agenda for the annual meeting and for tree sale, as typically Lexi and I plan those all together. So I wanted to make sure that I had the support staff to do those things. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on how I am dealing with her workload as she's on leave.
So in other words, she's really valuable, but it takes
Takes
10 people.
Well, I didn't want to overload
Right,
one
yes.
person.
No,
That's
I know.
not fair. And so I
Yeah.
tried to
It's a
piece
good
it
plan.
out.
It's a good plan.
And she is the backup plan for Megan, who's now gone.
So that's that was the update for human resources.
All right.
You don't happen to have a little card we can all sign?
That would have been a great idea. I don't.
Hey, you're on top of it. All right.
But we
I
could do that
have
next
one at
meeting and we
home,
could
too.
give it to her. It's not gonna.
We
hurt.
should-
That's
we
why
should.
we like-
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
she
she'll
is
still have it.
hoping and
She'll
planning
still
on
have it,
coming
I'm
to the
sure.
holiday party with the baby. So as we get that decided, you guys are all invited as well.
Do you know when the date for that
Baby
is gonna be?
t-shirts or
I
something.
think it's on
Yeah.
the 16th of
December
December.
16th.
Well, buying a little native plant that you can grow. with it.
What? I've heard 3 different days now.
Yeah,
What?
hold on, I
Just come each day.
I'll just-
I
I'll
think
just
it is
close
on the 15th.
December 15th.
Yes, December 15th at 1:30.
Okay, here.
That's our,
I'm sorry, back that up. What's it, December 15th?
Our holiday party. And Lexi will be there with her new son.
Is she on leave already?
Yeah, that's what we just,
That's here.
yes.
all righty, financials.
So we're
Oh,
lucky we
administrative.
got to do these because my computer crashed this week, Monday to be exact. And I hadn't had all the financials done. I had to take it into repair place. They were able to restore it. So you have some financials.
They were? I didn't hear that.
Yes, they
Oh.
did. Thank God. I thought I was gonna have to rebuild from February. So I was
Oh, no,
I was really having an anxiety attack.
Let's give it to the feds, they'll get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I didn't have to do that. So we now have in your packet, let me just organize myself here.
Should we get a motion let's have a motion to accept the balance sheet and
Or do we need a motion to accept the leave plan or anything like that? That was just a
we already
report,
did
right?
that's
Okay.
just for
All right, I make a motion to accept the
balance sheets
balance
and
sheet and
reconciliation.
reconciliation.
Is there a second? Is there support?
Support.
All right, is there any discussion?
So in your packet, you'll find our snapshot I like to call our close the door funds, all of our grants. I'm not sure if you guys have it, but if you'd like to look at it. Looks like this. You'll see,
Not at all.
Colorful.
you'll see, I colored the green ones, those are our SISMA grants. And then the blue are water quality, quantity, whatever, as well as any soil type work. The stuff in red are grants that are closing. You won't see these on here anymore. They're closed out. We're done with them. So that you won't see these funding streams. We're currently in grant writing season, so there may be more that come as we go. The nice part about this, you'll see the grants that we have. You'll then see what the grant amount is for, as well as how much we've spent on under each grant and what's remaining, as well as a percentage to how much we've spent, and the time of those grants. So how many years they span. Our grants also offer a indirect or overhead that is part of what helps fund our operations. So you'll see that as the next column, the total overhead, and then the estimated indirect we'll receive this year. This is an estimated number due to the fact that if we get these indirects based on how much we spend. So if a grant lays dormant, let's say someone takes another position and I have to fill a role, we don't get indirect if we're not spending money, except in NEEP and except with MDR grants. There's lots of exceptions. So all the green, that doesn't happen for a majority of the blue, except for MDR grants. MDR grants, we will always be given the administrative cost, which is what makes them so fantastic. And they're not competitive, which also makes them fantastic. The rest of these are competitive. We apply every year. We apply against people, our neighbors. We're writing a 319 right now. Well, so is Joe Bush. They only have $3 million in the state. Are they going to give us both money? I don't know. Both products are great. They're still our partners. You know, it's tough. There are lots of competition in these grants. There's no guarantee. I'm getting off track. This is what we have. This box down here. So I create this because of the way our funding works, because we get grants that span fiscal years, because we have so many streams of funding. One of the questions that's always asked to me is how much money, Megan, does the district have? And again, this is not the amount we have in our bank account. This is the amount that I like to refer to as our close the door fund. If we were to stop working today and I reimbursed and paid everything we needed to do, this is what the district would have. So that's that gray fund balance box here, and that's what you see. So I take on here the liabilities and equity that we have, and the funds. I subtract out advances we hold, anything that isn't ours. And then I also do an estimate for what we would be reimbursed to date. So for example, we're 1 month into this quarter. So what would we be reimbursed today? So this is a guesstimate, but a relatively close one. So if I were to close the doors, the district would have around $230,000. That's not what I have in my bank account. Although right now we have a lot, but that's just because I have to pay a lot of cost share. So that is what this is. Questions on this piece? Yes, sir.
Can you make that just a bit easier for me and put these numbers in a debit credit order so I know which one's a positive, which is a negative?
Yes.
Thank you.
Then the next thing you guys will see would be your profit and loss. This is just for the fiscal year, which started in October. Wait to make this bigger in front of me. So you'll see some of the funds we have already brought in. We've already started off with our county funding. This contract is for the next fiscal year. We get $60,000 at the beginning of October, and we'll get the additional $40,000 in April. So those are 2 deposits that we get from the county. I have not reimbursed anything for this quarter, so you won't see much happening here other than other than some of the ones we do monthly. So we did get a donation gift from Farm Bureau, and that is in there. We do from fee for service removal for, yes, sir.
That was from,
Farm Bureau, yes, that
it
was
was from, it wasn't from Farm Bureau, it was from
Matt
Matt
Daly.
Daly.
Yes, good
who
correction.
Did some work for the Farm Bureau and didn't take no money for it. He said, just
Donated.
write
Donate.
conservation a check. So they wrote us a check for $1,000 for work that he did for them on a history of farming in Ottawa County. We ought to have a couple of them copies here.
We
in the-
should. I didn't
I'll
get
work
one when I
on,
left.
I'll work on getting them.
Did he get a little acknowledgement?
He
Yes.
got all
Thank you.
kinds of accolades. He couldn't make it that evening, but yeah, so.
The next things you'll see, we do, our invasive species team does some fee-for-service work. So we do it grants, which pay for the service that we do with a lot of the invasive species removal that we work on and survey. But there are a lot of holes in this work. These grants cover A-list invasives, and they cover only specific areas that are high priority to the state. But there are a lot of community members that also would like this service for their home or their business. And so we have built in a fee for service work. We keep it very minimal, only at our cost with a 10% overhead to cover any capacity and that type of thing, so that we can provide a service to the community and still uphold our role as a government entity to be able to provide these services at the lowest cost we can. So we're not competitive with the private market. So if you were to do this and go through GEI or Cardno, this would be a lot more expensive. We were able to bring in through the HWA fee for service a little over $15,000. And then with the small amount of terrestrial and aquatic invasives we treated, we had a little bit over $400. So that shows you our income for the last month. Our expenses are spelled out. This is mostly payroll and supplies per program. So you can see those there. You see a negative number, mostly because our grants don't, we don't get our funding fiscally. So when I work with the auditor, we will take what we ended last year that needs to be rolled over to next year, and then this will look different for you.
That was my one question, is with that net income, that doesn't represent a shortfall or something that we have to find funding to make
No.
up for the year or anything like that.
No, not at all. So if you look at your balance sheet, this helps a little bit too. You'll see on your balance sheet, the money that we have in our accounts. We have about $240,000 in our account right now. Remember, I did not have my computer the last 2 days, so this needs to be a little more updated. I still have cost sharing. That's why this is much more up to date today. Build out, I'm expecting an additional 82,000. That's actually gonna be more. I also have liabilities that aren't in here. The cost share payments that I will have, that Doug, you'll sign at the end of the week, are about $157,000. That'll come out of this pot. But it gives you an idea where we're at. And then, yeah, so that's what you guys have for our.
It goes fast.
We balance it really carefully, where we have a lot of money in our account at the end of the quarter, or at the beginning of a quarter, but at the end of the quarter, we are, yeah, we're scraping the bucket.
Yeah,
So,
we thank you guys a lot for what you do.
yeah, we could not do what we do without the county
No,
support.
couldn't.
This isn't possible. So those are the pieces on the financials. Any questions?
Seems though there's a motion on the table. All those in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
All those opposed? Pay the man. End of year bonuses. Ooh,
So
okay.
that was in your packet. And I included what, it was in your actual, I didn't print it out. a second time.
Okay.
Which I could, if you'd like me to.
That wasn't in what was in our folder tonight.
It was in your board packets, but I don't typically give those to you. Oh, I have. it. You can pass those.
Yeah, I would have had to print off at home, correct?
When I need something printed, I send it to my husband and have him print it at work. Like, here's the list of things. He works third shift, so I'm like, here's the list of things I need printed tonight. Please bring it out. It's great, works out good.
Least you have power
Yeah.
here. They cut our power at
Yeah.
The construction crew at the Family Justice Center.
Oh,
Yeah, and I
Ouch.
just saw that,
Wow.
so Justin had to move to a different place.
Oh, I'm
Imagine the
going day too.
conspiracy.
I
Oh
know,
my
right?
gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're already going on one. They're
Are they?
already, within 5 minutes of the power going down, I was already seeing posts of,
Yeah.
how can we trust our elections when the power goes out? I'm like, I don't think you understand how these
No
things
backup plan
work.
in that facility?
Well, we have a generator, so I don't. but-
Yeah, I don't know why they.
I think it just does,
Yes,
from
for
what
the
I
jail.
understand of it
It's
from
for the
years ago,
jail.
it don't do
Right.
like the whole building.
Right.
No, but
No,
it does the important,
But the mainframe's gotta keep going.
like I say, it's only.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, I was glad when
I
I found out what it was that did it, because I live really close to the Fillmore complex,
not
so I was
good.
like,
We need
It's
a
just the
motion
campus.
on
yeah,
bonuses.
that was great. So that I'm fine.
I'll
with
make
that.
a motion to,
So the
Is
way
there,
I set
is
these.
there a second?
Okay.
I'll second. Okay.
Got it,
So-
Brian?
Got it.
The way I set these up was in the same method the same idea that we've done in the past. So the dollar amounts represent, there's no increase in dollar amounts. And then I decided that I wanted to give a little bit of understanding on why I might put a certain, well, I have some different levels and why they're at the levels they're at.
Mhm.
They're based on years of service. They're based on responsibility level, grant writing. If you're writing, if you know, like Natalie's writing 4 grants right now, that type of thing. I think that comes into play. And then I have some dependability pieces on there. It's an open meeting.
Right,
so
yeah.
Right.
We don't have to talk dollar numbers. They haven't really seen them,
I don't want to ruin their surprise.
but it is an open meeting, so
Yep,
unless they
alright.
want to walk out. I am able to take some of these, one of the things that I've implemented through the fringe benefits that we're able to, I know I've tried to explain this to you guys before, how I charge grants. I charge for wages and I also charge for fringe. Fringe includes something, they include Social Security, Medicare, it includes unemployment obligations assessment, it includes sick and vacation days, it includes our retirement stipends, our healthcare stipends. I've also included this. So there are some grants that do this, but there are some grants that do not. So for example, MDR doesn't do their grants by wage and fringe, they do salary. So I would have to work within that number. 319 grants,
Megan found a way to get it out of the grants.
Some.
Versus most, a
Some.
good chunk of it out of the grants versus coming out of
Correct.
general fund.
Correct.
So,
and it's only this
That's-
quarter, right?
and that was this quarter from when we talked about it. So that's
Yeah.
where I'm at. And so I'm hoping that we can now, not every grant I can do that with. I just can't. But it will help supplement that. So I wanted to give an idea. I'd love to get these, I'd love for everyone, we can either go everyone's the same. We can continue to go on this ladder. That's up to you all, how you'd like to do it. I just thought I'd give you a starting point. And you would let me know how you want to do it. We already put this in the budget for the district. This is
It's already
already,
approved in the budget.
yeah, so it's already on our appropriations budget. This isn't, we don't have to amend that.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
2 questions. Will the person that receives the bonus get the scoring?
No,
No?
they get their personnel reviews. They know where they're at. I am very, when I talk to my staff, they know if there's something that they're deficient in, I don't let it go. I'm not passive aggressive that way. So if someone is,
Well,
a little
here's-
bit,
Here's my question. If a 3 gets the same amount as a 6, do they know why?
I don't know what you're saying.
You got a total score here of 3, and then move up to a 5, it's the same amount.
Mostly because I'm really going off years of service.
Okay.
But this gave me I'm all about ranking. It helps
Yeah, I
me.
understand that.
But I mostly go about 2 years of service, and all these people that are at that 3 haven't been here a year.
Next question.
Yes.
Is there a possibility to do one more column, put last year's amount, or is there never
You
a
can't. So the
change?
ones that you see that have been here more than a year were only a few of us, and they, it's
Yeah,
the same.
but I don't know that.
Well, Natalie is the one that took over.
I get that, but just, can you put another column, and put last year's close by
Mhm.
or next to it?
I didn't go up in anyone and I didn't go down in anyone. So
Yeah,
if
that's-
anyone who was
believe you.
here last
Same.
year got this.
Natalie got more, didn't she?
Not last year. She had the same number.
Same as last year?
Mhm.
Okay.
My first question was kind of related to Tim's, which is, do they understand how bonuses are calculated? But you can answer that, it's based on their performance review. My second thing is this everyone in the office, or is there anyone that's not?
Actually, there's one that's no longer here. Cheyenne is no longer with us, so that
Okay.
will be null and void.
Okay.
Otherwise, yes, this is everyone.
Okay.
Oh, no,
Because
I
I
don't have
counted,
Keely on here.
because I counted
But she's-
14 names and I
Keely
thought
is
we had.
part-time, right?
She's very part-time, but she's still here and she's writing grants with Natalie, so I should probably substitute Cheyenne for Keely. And the reason you count 14 names and we had more previously is because we had strike team members here before,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
and they're seasonal.
Yep.
So, yeah, let's change Cheyenne to Keely.
Okay.
Because she only works 10 hours a week, but she does,
But when
she's
did she
writing
start
grants.
part-time? She was here part of last year, full-time.
she
right?
was, correct. So that you can take that into
I
consideration.
mean, that is.
You are correct.
This is for work of last year.
You're
not
correct.
right
So
now.
yeah, you can, then we
So
might
you
want to
might
adjust her
wanna
completely.
Jump her to 5.
Okay,
That's just my suggestion.
I like the idea and I feel horrible I didn't have her on
It'd
there.
be bad if she left.
She's been a great support and I know
Mhm.
she's been helping Natalie quite a bit in this for these grants she's writing.
The finance committee kind of steered Megan with these numbers as far as that's why it's already in the budget and such, so it ain't a.
So the only change that we need to make is to add on Keely.
Mhm.
Eh,
And
Are
take
you-
off Cheyenne.
Because she's no longer
She's not here. She quit.
here. Okay.
She quit within the first 90 days too,
Mhm.
so it's
Okay.
really kind of a non-issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say if she had been like on all year, and then it would feel a little bad to not give her a bonus to the last minute, but if she was only here for a very short time, then.
And
That makes sense.
I would even be okay with Natalie getting more.
Well, is there any more discussion?
When did she start?
Giving who a little more?
When did she start
Natalie.
part-time?
Natalie has not Keely, Natalie.
Oh, man.
So this one from here, will add Keely.
Well, firstly, I would say maybe dividing that up among the lower. I know that's hard because there's a bunch of them, but
Mhm.
$1,000 is a pretty good bonus. I mean, but you could, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so.
One of the
What do
things
you
that I
want to
watched,
change?
the only thing
My
would-
thought was to take that extra money and maybe distribute it among the folks who had the lowest.
Where'd the extra
Where'd
money
the
come
next
from?
money come from?
You said Cheyenne?
No, that is going to Keely, because Keely was left.
Okay, we
off the
decided that.
list.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So are we good?
Yeah.
Well, there's a motion on the floor to,
Do
to
we
pay,
need to make an amended motion? To just say with modifications?
I,
Yeah,
Because the motion was
Probably
to
should.
accept the holiday bonuses, but we just made 2 changes. Okay, so the new motion is now to accept the holiday bonuses with
do we?
the
we
substitution of
Can't make another
Keely. for
motion because there's a
Cheyenne.
motion on the floor, so do we need to amend said
Yeah.
motion from the maker?
I was the maker.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought. that
That's
Go
trying to
ahead
do
and
my
keep
job.
making. Go ahead and keep making.
Oh. So I've amended the
So
motion.
Ben, you with that?
Got it.
All right.
Okay.
So, all those in favor of the year-end bonus schedule as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Damn,
Did we change Keely to $500?
That's what I wrote down.
Okay.
all right. all over the place.
I just want to say something too, is when we were doing this, grant fringe thing will raise next year because Matt Nolan, We
Right,
get
did the
into this all
raises.
year long, so.
The nice part was, yeah, that will allow us to bring everybody up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's a nice way for people to fund their holidays.
County contract amendment.
Okay. Yeah, so one of the things that we have been discussing with the county is there's some holes in our the services that I can provide the district. HR is one of them. I noticed that through COVID that there was places that I could have used quite a bit of assistance. I pretty much emulated what the county was doing, but that is not my area of expertise, and it was uncomfortable. I also have some discomfort with HR in the sense there's a lot of legality that goes in, that's involved there, and I do really try to note take and rank and do all of that type of thing, but knowing that I can have some HR support is a big deal. Now, then the flip side is there could be lawsuits. I could get sued, or we could have legal issues. So the other piece was to ask if Mr. Van Essen might be available as maybe not our counsel, but to be able to guide us.
Consultant.
Consultant, good word.
Yes. And so we took that to the county, and their financial committee, I believe it was financial committee, had approved the addition. So you see the contract here in front of you with those extra services for the district as we move forward. So in kind, I don't foresee there's going to be a ton of things I actually really need. But when I do, it would be there.
And we need to vote on that.
Yes, you do.
You don't have vote in it. Oh, no.
Okay, I make a motion to support the county contract amendment.
I'll second.
Any discussion that we haven't already had?
Is the county funding that or are we funding that?
County is adding that on to us as I'm gonna,
As a
maybe it's
benefit
the
or-
wrong word, but a fringe along with their financial support.
Along with the $10,000.
Raise?
I think it's a really good
I have
thing
a
to
question.
have access to.
I know this maybe goes without saying, but you're not allowed to share things that are legal issues or whatever with people in the county.
No,
Right.
I'm gonna respect. We have that within the county too. I
Like
get
between
Well, I'll
departments.
get
or-
information from the sheriff's department and I'll go blabbing it to the parks department and vice versa, so.
Mhm.
I'm very sensitive to that, and let me just say, there's a host of things that as corporation counsel I get into that aren't litigation even.
Right.
You know, you get questions about this, that, and other
Mhm.
things, and it can be very helpful, or sometimes someone's from the outside is giving you problems, and, you know, I get involved in that, just trying to, you know, put some distance between the organization and whatever problem is out there. So there's a variety of services that could be useful. I won't be along with their indefinitely, because like I said,
Your end
kind of-
date, we're
I'm
gonna
timing
file.
out in a variety of different ways, but I hope that it's something that can continue for years beyond all of us here, that if the director needs some services, because you don't have the budget, can't, I mean, if you saw what law firms charge and how expensive and how quickly it can get a budget blowout, you would realize that being able to tap into that services, often it's just counseling to get you through some problem, is a necessary thing in 2022, 2023. It's the world we live in. There's lawyers everywhere, but it can be a useful.
Well, I think
service.
it's a great, you know, and especially
Yeah,
HR.
the HR,
too.
that's what I was
Oh,
gonna say,
that's
the HR
huge.
support, yeah.
Right now, what we got,
Yeah.
what?
Because we
14
don't,
people
you know, a
running
lot
around
of organizations have a dedicated
Yes.
HR person in addition to the executive director. We don't have that at this point, and the HR committee tries to help out, but like, you know, that's limited too, like.
All
as
right,
far as
all those in
expertise,
favor
so.
of amending this county contract, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Welcome aboard.
What is the timeline of work bullet point under here? Is that
Yeah.
a separate item?
Yes, it's separate and it just goes along with the county work. So, no, it's information. I had been having some discussions. So Paul Sachs is kind of my go-to person now as far as the county contract goes. And as well as John Shea. In the past, I had worked almost exclusively with Al Vandenberg. So now that we have some groundwater funding and then we have some operational funding, it's a little bit of both. So John and I, as well as Paul, had some discussions on how to proceed with this next year, as we are going to be up to renewing our contract this next year. On top of the fact that we have a whole new set of, we do have a whole new set of commissioners. So I wanted to make sure I was timing things out.
Not a whole.
Not a whole new set,
Well,
a
a
lot.
significant, a
15
significant,
minutes.
So I wanted to make sure I'm timing things out in a way that made sense for this new crowd. So what we discussed was some basic things, like when I do present to the county commission once a year, and typically that's in March. We're going to continue that date. That will be the time that I come in during their work session, perhaps with some individuals from the office staff to discuss what it is that the district does, the value we have, or their return on their investment, all of those things. And then with the goal of having our proposal for what we need for the next year, 2 years, however we decide we want to write that contract again, to be submitted by June 30th, so at the end of June. We also had a small amount of discussion about perhaps doing some, coffee time or connections with some of the new commissioners, so I can introduce myself and who we are. But that was still very much on the draft stages. But those two pieces, the March presentation and having this contract done and submitted in June, are solid dates. So those are two things that I will be moving forward on my calendar. So I just wanted to share those with you as we move forward in our planning.
Cool. Tree sale.
So we have selected and reserved.
It was
Thank you.
nice
Thank you,
meeting
Doug.
you. Thank you.
Night.
We have selected and reserved our trees for the next tree sale.
Fun thing.
So I have those here on our paper. We always use a variety of vendors, and mostly local, typically almost all county, except for the Nomuego Conservation District, and we use Angle Nursery, who is actually in Allegan, but we try to keep it as local as possible. So we can see our vendors and the trees that we're purchasing. You also see the cost that it will be for us to purchase those trees. I typically mark up that cost 3 times for the individuals who purchase them from us. So, and it does vary, because based on it varies based on how many, if we do buy 5 or you buy 100, you get discounts when you buy more. This gives you an idea, if we were to sell all the trees, about how much we bring in and what our revenue might be. So if, somewhere around, this helps me know that this number of trees, if I sell them the way I anticipate to sell them, I will bring in somewhere between $15,000 and $18,000 in this.
Then this is your
fundraiser.
sale. No, this is what you're buying them for. This total cost.
And the
And then
second
the
island,
individual
that's
cost
just what
is,
it cost me individually to buy the trees. Each one tree costs 23 cents, 30 cents. I mark them up 3 times, and that's what I sell.
Good mark.
It's less than a lot of people do.
I go 2.5.
I was gonna say, Megan, you should do more.
Yeah, and that's a thought, because we
Mhm.
could raise our prices. I don't know if we want to in this environment and with inflation and how things are going. I don't know, because this is a 2-piece thing, right? We want to have a fundraiser to make some money, but we also want to get the trees in the ground.
Right.
The other part of this is conservation. I want to get trees planted.
I think if we turn into not the least cost producer, but people come and they wait for our sale, because they can go to a nursery and pay 10 times this
Mhm.
price.
Mhm.
But the conservation district, I just think it's a huge win-win for us, because they can come, everybody talks about, where they got their trees. So I mean, I think that we should keep them as cheap as we can with, still make a profit, but I
Well,
mean,
between this and between the plant sale, I'm really hoping maybe we can come in somewhere around 25,000. That'd be the most we've ever brought in between the two fundraisers, but they're getting to that level.
Yeah.
I think it's closer that we might be able to bring in that kind of revenue.
So do we have to, are we supposed to have a motion before we discuss something? Or
If we
are
have
you
to vote
trying
on
to- Are you, do we have to vote on
no, this is
anything?
just, we're just talking
Okay.
about tree sale.
Yeah, I just want to give you some
Okay.
information.
So how are we, like, have we compared our pricing with other places? Like, if I wanted to go buy a Norway spruce, how much would I pay for it
But
if
you
I went
can't
and just bought
find
it on
those.
my own?
Well, one, yeah, you couldn't find, so
Okay.
I had to order, Lexi ordered these in September.
Okay.
If I waited till November, half these trees would be already spoken for.
Okay.
So that's a piece, and I have to guess. I have to say,
Right.
I think I need 2,000 Norway spruce.
Right.
What I have compared to Rivka is other conservation districts,
Mhm.
and I try to stay pretty steady in what others are charging. There's a little variation. Some charge a lot less, and some charge a lot more, but I think I'm pretty in the medium ground.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I'm just to the point of, do we raise our prices more or whatever, the other thing that we might want to think about, just from a marketing standpoint, is are there things that we could do that maybe we charge a little bit more for, but that would add a lot of value to the consumer? So, for example, having an
Delivery.
individual having delivery, or I'm thinking more along the lines of
Free.
instructions, right? Like more detailed planting
about
instructions, or
tools?
more, or tool, like the rain barrels, how well did those?
So, okay, we did sell 3 rain barrels. And
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
hear,
then
I
left.
hear everything you guys are saying. We do some of those things. So I do have
Mhm.
other items that we sell. So we just
Yeah.
have tree planting bars, I have stakes and
Mhm.
everything you might need to
Right.
plant
Yeah.
a tree. I already give all the information on how to take care of these trees and plant them. It comes along with what they get.
Mhm.
We also do bundles. So we have like pollinator bundles, and that we
Mhm.
charge more for those because they're things that we then put together. But
Mhm.
this is a berry pack. This is a conifer pack, that type of thing. Some people love that. If there are other thoughts like that, I have thought about other products, but it
Yeah,
can
that
get
can-
messy. So I just want
What
to
we
be
ran
careful.
into years
I'm
ago is
saying-
we had 20 rain barrels that sat out
Yeah,
back here
yeah.
for
I
2 or 3
Yeah.
years.
I had to go get them.
Oh, I
Um,
believe you. But
we had bird
even
houses
little
and
things
bat
like,
houses
I
and
would
you
take
know,
one.
if we laminate, if we make the instructions more designed and laminated so they don't get wet, is that valuable? I think it's worth looking at some of those things that are related to packaging and presentation, because I think that can make a really big difference on the user experience. I remember the first year that I got plants from the plant sale, I remember getting my tray and being so confused. Like, being like, okay, there's numbers on here. Same thing even when I bought, this was 3 or 4 years back, I got the trees, and I don't know if my husband threw the paper away from point A to point B, but then I got these things that just have the, the NS written on it or the whatever. I'm like, what does this mean? I don't remember what I ordered because I did it online like 3 months ago, and it doesn't really tell me. So I'm wondering if there's things like that that would really make us stand apart as far as making it super clear and useful. And maybe there is, and maybe there isn't. Maybe we haven't gotten feedback that people need that, but
And one of the things I do, so I do absolutely agree. We do, after each one of our events, we do a debriefing, what worked, what didn't. So we're constantly trying to get better. But I welcome suggestions as long as they're not too labor intensive
Yeah,
for what we
agreed.
can
I wouldn't,
do.
I wouldn't fix what ain't broke.
But there's always room for improvement. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't fix what ain't
one of
broke.
the things that, if you guys have interest and want to have some input in that, I'd be more than happy to have you sit in with our discussions when we're planning.
and sometimes those things can make people very willing to pay more too.
Yes.
With that increases our profit margin. It's just a perception thing. It doesn't really cost us more necessarily.
Have you done a tree sale before?
you know,
Wrap
No,
last
well,
year.
yeah, I
Wrap.
helped wrap.
So
So
when people come in, we
yeah.
just grab them and go.
I
Let's-
only helped.
Let's
wrap at the
cover
beginning,
some of
but-
these ideas, and I'm assuming you'll have a when we get closer, you'll either have a committee or a couple ladies in the office will kind of take lead of that and
So right
and you
now,
do your thing, right?
Our tree subcommittee internally is Kyle Hildebrandt, myself, and Ben Jordan. And then Lexi will come back on board, but it will, I mean, she won't be doing much of this planning.
Why don't we
So
just do it?
if there is interest from the board to assist with this stuff, I would be happy to include.
I'll have help with the rep.
You come and help with the wrap. I love it.
Now
I
that
have
we're
one
back, I
question.
would-
Hang on, okay,
Yeah.
we're getting
What
down a
happened to the
rabbit hole.
quaking aspen? Was he too shaky?
Well, and we do vary. So like there might be one year I offer quake and aspen, I don't offer it the next year, but I do the following. So there's, we go
Yeah.
back and forth because not every tree.
No, you just don't have the numbers of
That's a
that.
wavering.
If we did it on a weekend,
Oh, I
so
see.
if we did the wrapping on a weekend, my kids would totally be there to help wrap.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
the burn that we should.
All right, all right. If
I'm
you
all
got
on the
ideas, oh, hey, back there, if we got any ideas on the tree sale, get with Megan, Ben, Kyle.
And I'd be happy to let you can come in some, I'll let you know when we're doing some planning. And if you guys want to chime in, I'm
I'm-
happy to have that.
Pretty sure we'll hear a tree sale again between now and next April. Annual meeting.
We need a date. I also put together an internal annual meeting committee. No, did I?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Sarah and Natalie.
Under Sarah's on it.
So I put together an internal annual meeting committee. Sarah Bowman and Natalie Beckins will be working with me on that. But I know that, you know, like Rivka, Kelly, you guys have been incredibly helpful in that area. So, you know, I welcome assistance. Right now, I need a date so that we can, you know, start that process. We've done it in March in the past. And we've kept it with the same date as our annual, as our board meeting. Are we all kind of still in that same thought process with March?
One thing,
Yes, sir.
maybe Roger could help on this with all new commissioners. And we don't have an election this year.
Yeah, that's what.
So
God.
maybe Roger could help with a date where some commissioners could show up.
A lot of times we ran into it in the past where they were going to
A
the
legislative.
national convention, that type of
Oh,
thing.
Right.
So, yeah, that may be a good thing to find
I
a
think it's a really
a
good.
weeknight that their calendars are clear.
All right, I'll let you know.
Okay.
You call me and we'll kind of figure it out, okay?
Okay, but March you guys are good with
All right.
March? We'll
Good with
kinda-
March because it's about 6 months from your summer.
Yeah,
But that's
Sure.
also when NACO is in
Okay.
March.
right, like I say, we always ran into that in the past, so.
Yeah, yeah.
If we can push or pull it one week or the other, sometimes it helps.
That helps me.
Grants,
Got a lot of stuff happening. Yeah, so the most recent information was that Natalie and Keely had applied for the America the Beautiful grant for HWA management. We were not selected for that funding. It was extremely competitive and a nationwide funding pool. And also the very first time this funding was available. They did tell us that our application was really well put together, and we have an opportunity to get some feedback on how to make it better. So that's something that we're going to pursue. So that's not pending anymore. Natalie has just recently submitted 2 of our MISGP grants, Michigan Invasive Species Grant Program. The first one is for her core funding, which pays for part of Natalie's salary. And the other portion is for our project funding, and that's part of our strike team. So this is aquatic and terrestrial invasive species work. The second MISGP grant, Michigan Invasive Species Grant Program. This one is, we applied for additional funding to address the hemlock woolly adalgid issues in West Michigan. Currently, we are on track to run out of funding in April. So these are important. And we also, same with invasive species.
how many times have we, over the years, we've been dealing with hemlock woolly adulger for quite a while. How many grants has that been? Has it been 1, 2, 6? I mean, because it's been
Hold on, let me think.
7, 8 years that we,
Over 5.
so there've been 5 grants
Over
and
5,
that
yeah.
we've been, good.
And you know, sub grants and smaller pools, and yeah, quite a bit of investment has been made in
Yep.
that area. So those are the ones that are submitted.
Okay.
The ones that are pending, that are, I'm sorry, the ones that we're preparing. Sarah and Ben are currently writing a 319 grant, which is for non-point source pollution. And they're focusing on the Pigeon River watershed. With some additional BMPs in the bass and the deer to kind of close out a few projects that we began there, as we no longer have funding in the bass and the deer watersheds. We hope to apply for funding in future years again, so we'll continue through that, but that is what we're looking at. Currently, Natalie is writing a Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grant, a GLRI grant. This is also to continue work on the HWA program. So we're crossing our Ts and dotting our Is. We have one submitted. We're writing a second. You know, we might get both, we might get none, we might get one. But we need to apply for all of it. So she's working on that. Sarah is following now. This won't happen until December, most likely, but she is following up on 2 of our raindrop rescue grants. Lexi has done a tremendous amount of setup work on these grants, and Sarah is going to put together the applications with whatever assistance I can provide. And we're applying for a 5-star grant through NIFWIF, which is the National
National.
Fish and Wildlife
Fish and
Foundation.
Wildlife.
That's what the little parenthesis I included in. And then we're also looking for some funding through the Holland Zealand Community Foundation.
Nice.
So that is kind of the first pieces. There are also some smaller grants. We're just kind of to supplement funding in some areas, but we haven't totally identified where we need them. We had some conversations with Allendale Public Schools, but it looks like their Boy Scout, their Eagle Scout troop may be providing that same funding. So we're locating the holes, and we have some thoughts on that, but we're not 100% sure where we're gonna put our efforts. Yes, sir.
Is that only going to public schools, or are some of these charter schools also involved with this?
So for the raindrop rescue, for the NIFWIF and for the Holland Zealand Community Foundation will be a much broader scope, kind of. There's some specifics to it. Actually, I'll let Sarah speak to it. Go
Cool.
ahead.
I don't have, I'll just add, I think pretty positive that the NIFWIF grant is focused on 2 school projects. I believe it's Robinson School,
Mhm.
and the one where
Holland?
there's, I
Holland?
believe it's,
Holland
I think
Christian?
there's also, I think there's a church actually too. But so it's like a school project and a residential or like a business type project as well. So I believe it's those 2 projects.
To answer your question, these are schools that have come to us with ideas for things they want to do. So if there are schools or charter schools or other organizations, send them our way, because once we can get letters of commitment and once we can identify a project we want to do, that's really how we move the needle, rather than this large.
But
like,
that's what I wondered,
Get a
is,
partner.
does it gotta be so many students, or does it has to be, no?
Every proposal is a little different. Every proposal has a
Mhm.
different focus.
Mhm.
But if we can talk to the, whoever it is that might be interested, schools tend to be easily fundable. Grants get excited about them. And so if you have individuals that you would like us to talk to, send us our way. We're right now, fantastic news. Keely and Natalie did write a Sustain Our Great Lakes grant back in last spring. And we've just found out that we were funded for that grant. That announcement was in your board packet. You'll hear me refer to it as SAGO grant, Sustain Our Great Lakes. We were able to get $200,000 for that. And we're able to work on a few different species that we haven't been able to address in the past, bittersweet being one of them up in the Kent County area. So it was very exciting. It is a grant that's, again, incredibly competitive, and we were really excited to see this come through. It's going to fill out our season well next year. So they did a great job. One of the things that kind of came on our radar recently that we were considering is a DNR fish and habitat grant. And this is why I thought it kind of fit with a little bit of what Callie was talking about crockery. We've done those. We wanted to see maybe perhaps we can do some road stream crossings in Crockery Creek to identify areas that could use some attention. Ben had also looked at macro surveys and macro and fish surveys to determine the viability of future fish passages and some BMPs, best management practices. There's also 2 culverts in Sand Creek that we might be able to address with like a super simple like grade control ladder to address those culverts. They're just things bouncing on our heads, but I wanted to share, see if you had any feedback, that type of thing on any of these plans.
I think this might be a good time to,
Talk
what is the
Crockery?
Crockery Creek? Let's talk Crockery
No,
Creek.
we're basically done, correct?
Those
Well,
are-
because that's because that's included.
I
saying,
guess
but-
before we open that,
Oh,
up,
okay.
real quick, do you guys have any questions, concerns about any of the other grant applications or projects that we're considering or not considering that? Do you have any questions on any of this?
Looks like you've been busy, good job.
Very, very, very busy.
All right,
Okay,
Kelly,
cool.
what you got?
Well, so what I recently found out, the Lake Association has its meetings and went through the newsletter, and they are part of the, I want to say, Michigan Cooperative Lake Monitoring Program. When I perused through that information, Crockery Lake was at, I think it's 220 parts per million. I think, however, because it didn't totally say, what the load was for phosphorus, but that's the
Okay,
number,
phosphorus,
okay?
okay.
So the Lake Association, they're kind of making moves to do some things to create a lake improvement district and other things, but and I realize there's a lot to unpack with that lake, and the drain commissioner is aware of, has engineering studies and things like that, but I want to try to, and I want to do something for them. I feel like they're going to lose their lake, and how can we work with the drain commissioner in the township and the Lake Association to help address, I mean, there's lots of problems. And there's probably only so many things that we can do, but
So do
It
you
is-
see this as being a new program that we take on or something we write a grant for? Or do you see it as something that we're just like present some kind of resolution of support? Or where do you feel like? the
that's
need
a
is?
good question. What
If I
exactly?
can chime in just real quick.
Yes, Ben.
I'll actually be sitting on that Lake Advisory Board. for Crockery,
Excellent.
so.
Are they gonna put it in place? Because I mean, there's
yeah.
issues on how that gets done. Like
Yeah,
it can
there-
either be
there's-
voted on.
Yeah, they have to figure out, there needs to be members of the township involved, Water Resources Commission, but it is getting put together and we will be sitting on that. to help
Excellent.
advise.
Okay,
That's
that's exactly what I want.
Yay.
I, just would like to be kept apprised of those. I'd like to, the township has been dragging its feet a little bit. And I realize that this is such a huge issue that they don't know what to do, but I do want to keep up on it and, the Crockery Creek Watershed Advisory Council is all but defunct, I guess, but I just want to keep my finger on the pulse and make sure that, things are moving along the way they should. So yeah, thank you for that, Ben. That's precisely what I was looking for.
The other thing to mention too is that, when we originally wrote the 319 grant for Crockery Sand, which would have been the fall of 2020, obviously we knew there were issues with Crockery Lake in terms of elevated phosphorus, but the monitoring had not been done by that point. So it was not actually listed in Eagles, or I guess DEQ prior to Eagle. It wasn't listed in their 2020 or 2018 integrated report, which is a big gigantic document where they list all of the designated uses of all the waters and lakes and streams, but then also the impairments to the designated uses. So that was not previously in one of those versions, but the impairment for phosphorus is in the 2022 Eagle IR, meaning moving forward, if we were to write a phase 2 of Crockery Sand, we would be able to hone in a little bit more on Crockery Lake, call that now an official designated, critical area in a grant proposal, and be able to work a little bit more on it. But that being said, you emailed me a couple weeks back about, shoreline funding.
Right,
At that point, there's nothing 319s can really do in terms of that. There's not
Right.
really funding available, in too many avenues to do natural shorelines and things like that. That's something that we have always kind of had in the peripheral the last few years. We're constantly kind of looking for sources of funding there. So we could provide, let's say, a landowner cost share to do a natural shoreline, to pull out their seawall, or to, rather than installing a new seawall, do bioengineering, something along those lines. The big issue obviously is you have a relatively small-ish lake with houses ringing the entire thing. There's a lot of phosphorus inputs from fertilizer, from, animals, dogs, whatever else. You also have geese and ducks on the lake, quite a few of them, and the seawalls and the non-natural shorelines don't help that. You have a lot of failing septic systems, and then you have the ag inputs too. So there's a lot of issues, and we're kind of looking at all of those and how we can help. But the current funding streams we have just don't really allow us to tackle many of those issues. So.
What's the biggest source of pollution there, Ben?
Without doing any sort of, more specific monitoring, that's hard to tell. I mean, it's a combination of, there's obviously a lot of agriculture inputs. The inlet of the lake, almost the whole lake is ringed by agriculture fields, so that's an obvious one. But you also have a lot of, the sad part is, if you were to actually do monitoring on most inland lakes around this area, you're gonna find elevated phosphorus, you're gonna find elevated nitrates, and you're gonna find E. coli, because you have a lot of failing septic systems too. So it's a twofold problem. I mean, you always get the finger pointing, right? The people around the lake blame the farmers, the farmers point out that there's just as much stuff going on around the lake, and they're both right, they're both wrong. It's everywhere.
okay, well, that addresses my, the one thing that had been brought up, I think, in the Lake Association minutes is that the issue of sedimentation, and like where exactly is that coming from is unclear at this point. So I just want you to file that one away, because they were like, how do we study that? How do we find that out? So, so yeah, that makes me feel a lot better. I just don't want the issue to go until there's another emergency where they have to dredge, and the cost is so high and people were upset. So, and it's not clean to swim in. I mean, I haven't let my kids swim in it for probably 2 years now, and it's our favorite place to go. So, okay,
We
that's
used to
all.
swim in the cow tanks, and we didn't die, so.
Yeah.
Okay, no comment. Man, this is when you move it all.
30 years ago, you couldn't swim in that lake.
I think life expectancy has gone up about 5 or
Right?
6 years since you were a kid, though, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't know.
All right, so board updates, right?
Board updates. Tim, what do you got? Anything?
Just a couple questions. I don't want to bring it up again, but I'm gonna ask, solar panel thing that was gonna come on again. I realize it's a busy month, so is it
It's
still
still on my
coming?
radar.
Okay.
It is still 100% on my radar. I haven't dedicated much.
No
time.
problem.
Well, and I thought where we left that was you were gonna write some kind of resolution or notes or something.
No, I
Aren't
asked,
you gonna find out who was doing it?
Yeah,
I'll have to dig it.
I remember
seen
that
an
being the
article or
ball in
something,
your
but
court.
They
we don't know
approached
who
me.
was doing
They
it.
approached me. Okay. That was it.
Okay.
Oh, no, one more question. Last time, the HR committee comes with all these bonuses and pay raises and all that stuff. I'm cool with all that. But as a monetary policy, doesn't that have to have full board approval before it goes forward?
We approved our budget. Matt and I did the budget.
Yep.
And a budget is a budget, it can change. When Rivka and I'm gonna use Megan for instance, Rivka and I spent like 4 hours.
Yeah, we spent a long
here,
time.
4 hours or more just with Megan.
Yeah.
And reviewing all the stats on what people make and everything. And Rivka spent another 2 half days because I couldn't make it with the rest of the staff. Okay? So on the last board meeting, Rivka asked, this is what we recommend for a raise,
That was for Megan.
Megan. And the other ones were approved too, right?
No.
Yeah, well,
Well, it's never
Megan
Megan.
makes the recommendations
Yeah,
for the
for the
staff,
other
but
one.
the HR committee reviewed it, the
But we
finance
did
committee
Megan.
reviewed
So
it.
then we said, anybody got any complaints? And we talked for quite a while.
There was no complaints. I just wondered
Yeah.
why.
I got a question. We did all that. We did put the numbers together and tonight we discussed it and talked about it and voted on it. So
Right.
Tonight, we.
That was the bonus.
The
That was a
bonus,
that
but
was
we
a bonus
voted
pay
on the
rate.
raise last.
Tim's not wrong on, not on me, but on the rest of the staff.
The rest of the staff that
So-
went through without board approval, in my
It
opinion.
didn't, I don't, it went, it was in your packets. I had made the raise recommendations, we had talked about it. And then we talked about where the funding came from. And it was voted on.
Mhm.
But it wasn't done individually. I didn't say this is
Right.
Ben's, this is Natalie's, this is,
Yeah,
It was discussed
think
as like,
we
this is
bumped
the
them.
We did
percentage
the
raise,
more
this
of
is
the
why we're
Megan
doing the
board.
percentage
And
raise.
see,
Yeah.
Megan's probably the one that, and we can change anything we want. But Megan's the one that really decides.
She gives
The
them
raises.
recommendations, yeah, I
Yeah.
get, because she's dealing with it.
Yeah.
And the HR committee
That's her job.
approved
And
that.
she, and the main thing is all the people's raises are through the grants. They don't
Yeah.
really come out of the.
We did
Oh,
vote on it
wow.
as a whole board, but we
Yeah.
just voted on it as a single.
The
item.
package of everybody
Yes.
together.
Yeah.
so
Instead
that's
of
why it's probably.
piecing
fun.
one.
And then Megan and Lexi, we did on their own, because we did Lexi too.
Mhm. Because of the maternity leave and all that
We
kind of
went
stuff.
We're gonna actually talk about Lexi when she comes back. Because
Yeah.
it'll
2
be a
months.
whole
What, we
different,
met
it'll
3
be a
months
whole
after
different
she comes
capacity.
back, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a 3-month thing after she comes back.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we all discussed Megan's work performance and her
Mhm.
raise.
So I'm cool with all that. Here's my fear is you get a couple people on the HR committee that are not in sync with the board. And some of these things go through without board approval. Because that's my fear, that's my concern.
We can put the individual
The
people.
HR
on.
committee need, to me, in my opinion, need to bring the recommendations, get a number figured out, and bring it to the board, and then it's a yes or no, done.
So in your packet, I gave you guys
Mhm.
everyone's amount, what they're gonna be paid the
did-
whole
we
year. I
did.
separated out.
Yeah, we
did
totally
vote.
on it as
did.
a one.
We even, we
Yeah,
even
we
talked
did.
about,
Stand
all at
corrected,
one
though.
time.
we
I
talked
remember.
Yeah,
about,
we
we
did it all
talked
at
about
once.
the French benefits. I gave you
Yep.
that wage snapshot sheet.
Yeah,
And you
Yeah.
had all of their work
We did
agreements
do
in
that.
your packet.
Yep, totally happened.
I didn't sit down and say Kyle gets this, Natalie
had
gets
you
this,
sit
Sarah
down.
gets this, but you had it all.
It was all in the board packet, yeah. Yeah, it was all,
Rivka spent a
very
lot of
thick.
time, I will give her that with each individual one.
Yeah.
Next.
No. I'm going left, to right.
I'm good, probably gonna go to the MACD meeting, but,
You let me know, because I haven't registered you
I
yet.
know,
And they said something about rooms, so.
I'm good.
You're gonna
I'll stay at the
yeah,
Grand
you,
Terrace.
I'm
You're
assuming you're taking care of that. 'cause
You
I got that
have a
email.
room, you have.
That's great, that I don't have to sleep on the sidewalk.
No, and we can talk transportation too. I haven't got that.
You have till 11th, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we're fine, so.
Well, and we're driving too, so like we can talk about
Okay,
how. we wanna do
okay,
that.
cool.
Just one thing, like, when I would like to know when committees are meeting, I'd like to participate in those.
So the only thing, because we did the committees like voted on who's gonna be on the committees. My understanding, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, but if we have more than 3 board members, then it becomes a public meeting. That
You
we have
more than
to-
two.
If you have more, if you
More
Oh,
than
have
right,
three-
right,
if
right.
you
If you
have
have,
three, it becomes a
thank you,
public
that's
meeting.
what I meant to say.
Oh,
yeah.
If you have
Yeah.
more than 2, so that's why there's only 2 people on the finance committee, only 2 people on the HR committee, is because if it gets to be more than that, then we have to comply with all of the having it public, having it posted.
And also,
blah,
2
blah,
people
blah.
can make a decision better than the whole board. That's why
Right.
it went to a committee, so that there ain't the
But I
wrestling.
think we change who's on the committees like every year, so if you wanna be on a committee next year.
Yeah,
just
that would be
volunteer.
great. I'd like to
We
start.
discussed all that at the first
We
meeting.
did.
when we
I know,
all got
nobody
on-
else
Well,
wanted to be on the, I said
so,
Kelly be on the HR committee.
I
You're like,
already-
no.
Yeah, she
You know, I
did,
just
but-
have some objections as to how, who, you know, I feel like.
Kelly, you
Same
were
people
here and we
serve.
asked you to be on the board,
I did.
on that committee. I mean, Rivka
On
did.
HR?
Yes, I
Riv-
specifically was like,
Rivka.
Callie, you're
Yeah.
like, nope, I don't wanna
No,
do
I
it.
thought that was in regards to
And the-
doing the annual
Yeah.
reviews. That was
Yes,
what
well,
I
that's
was
part of the
rejecting.
HR committee.
Yeah.
But look, I
Alright.
want to start, I do want to start a marketing committee. I've brought that up more than once and I think we should do that. So, but I just wanted to let you all know that, so I've been working, I have a fellowship with the Grand Valley State University and I'm working with my professor, Jalir, who does a lot of work on sustainability. We've incorporated some of the information on the RCPP grant, which kind of falls under the lens of like green space preservation into his curriculum. So I thought that was really exciting.
That's cool.
And I wanted to share that with you. Also, he wants me to look into agriculture preservation, and I've kind of dove into it. Perhaps you guys know more, perhaps you don't, but you know, he from like a public administration planning standpoint, you know, Georgetown Township is not the bastion of planning that we want to emulate, and so he wants to show how some of the programs like what we're doing work and how it connects with government, and you know, to teach that to students. So so yeah, I just want to let you know that I did put that in there. He's gonna get the information, and I'm just, you know, I'm super proud of the work you guys do. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Exciting.
that's it.
All right, I have 3 things really quickly. Number 1, a possible funding source that we might want to look into. Gentex just started a
Mhm.
foundation. Right now, they
One of my
just,
very, very closest friends
yeah,
is one of the executives. in
Nice.
Gentex, so
nice.
I've got a few. Gentex.
So right now, they don't have any official RFPs or any official grants because they just started their foundation. But they also are like, if you have ideas for things you want us to fund, like send us some things.
Mhm.
And they have some very broad guidelines as far as what they want to fund. They really want to fund education. They really want to fund DEI related initiatives. They really want to fund
You what?
DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
You know, so there's definitely an opportunity for us to connect, like, for example, with Raindrop Rescue, you know, particularly if we wanted to say, put together a proposal for, are there underserved schools in our community that maybe don't even know about us, to reach out and apply to Gentex or something like that, to say that would combine 2 of their core mission things. I think there's a huge opportunity for us to tap into some of that funding before it gets super competitive, because they don't even know what they want to spend money on yet, so we can tell them what to spend money
yeah.
on. So that was one thing I wanted to just bring up. The other one, Megan, you already know, I met Sierra Schutz. I don't know how to say her last, Sierra. I happened to meet her at an event this summer. She works with Ottawa Food, and so she had contacted me and was like, I want to talk to you more. So we just chatted for a little bit. I connected her with Morgan with food safety, because I thought they probably have some good crossover with the farm programs that they're doing. She's really trying to build this Ottawa Food Commission that's meeting quarterly. She's like, will you be on the you know, committee, and I said, I think that probably is a conflict of interest for me to be on the committee, but I'm happy to sit in and see what you guys have done. So I think there's probably gonna be some opportunities for some collaboration with Isle of Food. Like I said, primarily I connected her with Morgan, so. And then there is a nonprofit that's just getting started here locally called Grow Your Classroom that I also just recently connected with, that they are providing free plants basically for any teachers that want to have plants, live plants in their classroom. Just saying like, bring in fresh air, bring in green, it's good for your mental health, good for your physical health, good teaching opportunity. And so I thought that might be, I was gonna just connect them with Lexi when she got back, but if you want me to make the connection sooner, I can, because I thought there might also be some collaborative possibilities for raindrop rescue, and it's also a good thing for us to keep in the back of our head if we ever have leftover plants from a plant sale or something like that, that it's an existing nonprofit that can redirect, if there are things that are appropriate for indoor plants, as an opportunity. So that's my report.
Morgan says thank you for the connection.
Oh, awesome.
Hi, Morgan.
I wrote and I guess I want to go through it quickly, so I don't want to get into a huge discussion on the negativity of it or not. But I asked Callie what she was upset about. So I want to go through a couple bullet points quickly.
Why
It's
are we
difficult.
doing this now?
Because it needs to be cleared with everybody, so that everybody, and we're gonna go through it and be civil. I guess I'm getting back with you on what you're upset about. So these are what you threw out there. So I thought this was the best place to do that, right? So, I don't know what's going on because no one will communicate with me. I've never received any emails from you asking me of clarification on anything or anything. So I don't understand what that means. We've already covered the library issue. That wasn't what was said, that wasn't what was told. I don't understand the last month's agenda was basically a repeat of last year, except I wasn't available to defend myself.
we
This
should-
is my time. You've had yours.
I think I'm gonna go.
This wasn't you didn't need to come and defend yourself. It was a policy that the board, and why you couldn't make it, that was your personal reasons why you could or couldn't make it. And that doesn't mean the conservation district had to wait with their policies, because I
You
mean,
could have
we all
avoided this
we
whole
all knew what-
explosion of problems if you would have
we
just
all
done
knew
what
when
I
the meeting
asked.
was, we all knew what our obligations. So I don't believe anybody who can't come to the meeting, I'm sorry that it had to happen that way. And then retaliated? How did I retaliate against you after the
Okay,
meeting was over?
This needs.
I don't understand
We
that.
need to stop. Doug isn't here. Neither is Sarah.
I
So
don't, we
we're
don't need
done.
them.
Have a good night.
These were what your issues were, so I'm
Sarah.
addressing them.
I don't know. what was
Against
said to you about
What,
when we did
how did
property.
I retaliate against you?
I don't want you to think that I'm.
All right.
listening.
Um,
Okay, have a good night.
I don't know what
Thank
I've been
you.
doing to deliberately upset you.
Okay.
Reach out to me and tell me,
Matt,
I guess, what we're
seriously?
doing.
Good night. This is bullshit.
Opportunities to discuss my issues. I'm not, like Doug said earlier, I'm not gonna go back a year and a half, 2 years ago and discuss them issues with you, because we're gonna move forward. Continuing the agenda of harassment. I don't understand what the harassment is coming from. Where is that? And don't sit there and act like I don't have a reason to be upset. So I guess, can anybody else answer my question of the extra emails? Who are the extra people in the emails that is going around with the board?
One was a lawyer, the other one was some.
Roger and Jack are the only people I include.
No,
there was
that you
another.
include, but on these emails yesterday that were flying around when the accusations were, there was 2 other people.
Who was the one with the acronym?
I believe one was her lawyer. Who was the other person? I guess I just thought that was not a very evasive question to ask. I just wanted to know whose eyes.
Who's Ray
That's
Sharsky?
me.
No,
That's
that's
what I
Darcy.
thought.
Oh, okay.
I-
Oh,
Yeah.
Perfect. Like I say, and that's fine. I just, if we're gonna,
Who was the other one? No, there was another one.
that was her lawyer.
Jack
No,
Knort. Oh, this on here's got Roger, but I
Yeah,
did see her
responded
lawyer.
to-
See, you're only on like one email.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of.
Oh, yeah, I was on.
This was board problem, so I just included board on it. So again,
There was ones with board, she was smashing Megan,
Yeah.
pretty bad.
so I guess the reason I bring this up this evening, I'm sorry to all of you that if it's negative or not, but I wanted to get back with her. I didn't want to be accused of something more that I didn't get back with her and answer her questions. That's exactly why I asked, what's the problem? We will cover and I will do the best of my ability to answer your concerns. But we all know what we get when someone says to Callie, I mean, I've asked her straight out tonight, how to deal with her. So I guess if,
I thought she was gonna tell off Doug Vanessa if it wasn't for you tapping her.
well, so I guess, yeah, that's my board comment. So
Can I provide you some feedback?
Sure.
So you just continually kept asking her a question, and then when she would respond, accuse her of interrupting you.
no, I'm sorry I did that. I had a lot on my mind that I
I'm
did want to get
sure.
out, but
And it may be that it might be more helpful to have an individual conversation with her.
absolutely not alone.
I mean, I understand why,
Absolutely not
for
alone.
sure. Um,
She
but-
hears what she wants to hear, and I am
Yes.
to the end of my rope with dealing with third grade issues with
Yes,
adult
I
people.
understand that,
We
but
all have issues at home, and we all are juggling life,
yeah.
and
But
we
you
come to
absolutely
this
have
board.
the power to de-escalate a situation or escalate a situation as well.
Really?
Mhm. Absolutely.
Well, I'll agree to disagree with you there, because, with a sane, rational person, I do.
Sorry.
But
Is
look
there a motion to adjourn, or do you?
But I wanna say one thing. All this thing, Kelly acted like the victim, but look what she did to Matt at the last meeting.
The last meeting, she wasn't here.
Well, the meeting before. where
The
she
last meeting that we
slammed him
had, when her head spun around and her eyes went goofy.
And acts like it never happened. And
Well,
all the
And-
emails about Megan, I ain't ignoring that.
What's her beef with Megan? What's
It's
her
all-
beef
well, I
with
mean,
Megan?
everybody knows that
Always.
I think everybody in this room knows that I absolutely stick up for Megan all the time, because I think
You do.
she,
Commend you on that one, because I used to be the only one. won't
a
say
lot of
timid.
things that are
I
sometimes
let it be
expected of
known.
her are internal board issues that
We-
need to be resolved.
We had it tonight.
Internally, as
Pam
board
Evans
issues.
said, we're the leaders. We're
Mhm.
our employees, our team members look up to us. If they were doing that in the office, we'd fired them
Oh.
6 months ago.
I wouldn't even know their name anymore.
I mean,
But I think a lot of the things that were on your list at the end were already addressed previously, so.
but I asked for what was bothering her, and I wanted to give her an answer for everything that she had on her list. So that is the
Okay.
reason why I finished my list.
Okay.
Yes, all this stuff has been
I do have
over,
a comment.
over and over.
I have a concern, and I don't know how to deal with it, and I want it, I guess it needs to be open.
We're saying it, we're still in a meeting,
We're
right?
still in a meeting.
All still on?
I'll still on.
Okay.
I don't know how, at this point, the way that things have happened through the last 2 years, I don't know how to work constructively on committee meetings or one-on-one with Callie at this point. I don't know how to do that anymore. So part of the reason I don't want a marketing committee, and part of the reason I push it away, is because I don't know how to work with her anymore,
Mhm.
and it terrifies me. So she can know that, and I hope she does, but I don't know how to do that, you guys.
Well, and I think the important thing to remember is when it comes to committee membership, someone can offer to be on a committee that has to be voted on. So there's not going to be a situation where you are going to be alone with her on a committee, because none of us are going to vote for that. Right? like none of us are gonna vote for that.
She don't
as
want
a
nothing to do with
policy.
her for the hatred she put towards her.
That's
I
understandable.
Even
wouldn't
this
say
past
hatred.
week, I mean, that was
I-
another,
Look
that was
at the
gonna be another one of my
Yeah,
questions.
I responded to all these.
What- Exactly,
I
professionally, and I commend you, I mean, wow. And Pam tonight crossed Ts and dotted Is, and
But
like I
that's what
say,
I'm saying about
that's why people are fed up.
building your de-escalation toolkit
But
would be a
we're
really
beyond
good thing
that.
to do.
You know,
I mean,
You know,
yes
I'm
and
not
no,
trying to
because we
escalate it,
have
Rivka.
to-
Rivka, I'm sorry if I interrupt you, but
No,
I'm
it's
not
fine.
trying to escalate it. I'm just sick of dealing with it. Shut up, sit down. If you don't have nothing constructive to say, be passive and let the room go by you.
Mhm.
Nothing is her fault. Everybody is against her. It's been that way since day one. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm not coddling to that. I didn't do it with my children. I certainly don't do it with adults or my peers of, you know, in a business setting, in a professional setting. Totally unacceptable. You know, I'm sorry, you know, she walked out of the room today during a meeting, took a phone call, and then came back in and we had to repeat what we just went through the 2 minutes before. Had to catch her back up to speed. That's quite rude.
Sometimes emergencies happen.
Okay,
Very true.
Sometimes
All right.
emergencies happen. I mean.
We're just not all quite as suave as that gentleman was sitting right there.
I'm just saying, you know, I'm not excusing anything negative that Callie has done, but we all have room for improvement. We all have room to communicate more effectively and with more professionalism.
Very true, Rivka, but the whole world does not have to improve to gratify one person. I'm sorry.
No, but we should want to do it for ourselves, for the district as a whole, for the comfort of the meetings, for our staff.
All
Should
good,
be-
all good.
Rivka, you're the punctuation queen. You're the grammar queen. Sorry about my email yesterday. I don't do that stuff. That's why I
It's
talk.
okay, it's
I
okay.
talk to people.
Yeah.
Look at the last 6 emails we got from her.
Mhm.
I, me.
Yep.
Me,
Very
me.
It's very. clear
My
communication.
executive director didn't do this.
Yeah.
Nothing. We're on a board. It's we, it's us, it's ours.
Yep.
And her constituents, she don't have a district. It's Ottawa County. You know what? Her constituents are my constituents. They ain't her constituents. Everything is a me, I. I'm a victim.
Poorly communicated.
Poorly.
I don't.
Is she
argue
not
with
the
that
one
at
who
all.
sits here and says, we're harassing her and we're, you know, ganging up on her? I mean, silliness.
Well, I mean.
Be an
again,
adult, move forward. Yes, I'm not being
you
the
are
adult that I really
also
would like to be.
Using inflammatory language.
I'm sorry, what is the inflammatory? Have I cussed and swore and got
It's not
agitated?
that,
style.
it's not that, but it
Is it loud
definitely is
talk?
still, I mean, that's part of it, but it's also, you know, when you say, I wanted you to go out and embarrass yourself. Saying something like that is
Inflammatory.
definitely, it's not meant to calm the situation, let's say, right? It's.
That's the
de-
problem with this world today. We can't all say what we really maybe need to hear.
Tim,
I'm sorry. I'm not here, again, I'm not here to coddle a 3-year-old and
It's not about
baby
coddling.
things
Oh, spade
along.
is spade.
It's the same,
So-
it's the same
Bulldozer
level
over
of
her. She didn't
professionalism
do
that
it.
you're expecting is the same level of professionalism that you should.
I believe
get.
what we said earlier. I love your optimism. Please don't lose it because this world needs a heck of a lot more of it. And with that, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn. Megan, keep courage.
I
Megan,
told my husband it's 1 more month and I
We-
make a decision on my own mental health.
no, and you can't believe the hours that we're adjourned, correct?
I think
Has there
you've
been a
handled
support
what
for
I
everything?
read the
Is there a
emails
support?
really well.
Turn off the owl.
Is there support? All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye, we're adjourned.
Who supported, sir?
everybody.
I think
Tim.
Tim
Who
supported.
officially? I thought Tim made the motion.
Well, then Doug supported.
No, I didn't.